Welcome to the Marvel Alliance podcast, where we cover anything and everything to do with the Marvel Universe. From the comics, TV, and movies, we will go from the Mojoverse to Earth 616 to the Superhuman Law Division of GLK and H to bring the Marvel Universe right to you. I'm the man without fear, Chris.
I'm your friendly neighborhood Brent.
Alliance Assemble. Volume 131, and my adjective nickname that I intro the show with for a very long time couldn't be more apropos.
That's right. And hey, I'm back this week.
Yes.
I want to start with thank you, Travis, for filling in last week. Unfortunately, I have to give you a big fat request denied to your request for me to be gone this week so you could come on the show. But I do appreciate Travis filling in for me while I was in California last week for work stuff.
To be fair, Travis may have not got the She-Hulk episode he really wanted, but he definitely got a whole lot of good news to talk about. So
He did get a lot of good news, and don't think I wasn't jealous of some of that good news. For the record, I'm very excited about Deadpool and Wolverine. Do I want Hugh Jackman to be Wolverine in the MCU? Not if he's like 6-7 appearance. Like, I don't think he has that in him. But to get him even one time with Deadpool, hell yes. I will take it. Hell yes.
David in the chat, I didn't break anything. Sorry, Travis.
That's because you were late to work today, David.
Uh-oh, calling him out.
It was planned.
Yeah.
I was also a little late today.
So good week so far, Brent?
Yeah. It's been a fun week, especially for the Disney Plus stuff. You know, we had I guess it's not Disney Plus, but we had a new trailer. We had Andor, which I'm really liking. She-Hulk, and tomorrow we have another installment.
Yes, we do. It's a good week to be a Marvel fan.
It is.
Yeah,
How's your week been?
It's been good. It's been good coming to an end. It's been I've been in this PD for the past 2 Monday and Tuesdays. So when you're not out of the building and you're not in your normal frame of mind, when you're getting back in the middle of the week and trying to play catch up for half the week, it's just like I just need to have a normal week.
Yeah. PD
I've enjoyed the professional development, but it's been one of those things like 2 weeks in a row of it is just like I need to have a normal week.
I hear you.
So, but yeah, weekend's coming up, lots of fun stuff. But let us get these show plugs out of the way. So, as always, ladies and gents, we are part of the Geek Ultimate Alliance Network with 8 shows covering a wide range of geek and nerdom. To see the full schedule, check out the show notes right below and subscribe to the Geek Ultimate Alliance on Twitter at GUA Pod Network so you know when all those shows are dropping. We also have a Patreon, so if you want to throw a couple of shekels our way, we got 2 tiers. We got our $1 tier as our tip jar to say, hey, you think we're doing a good job? And we've got our $5 tier with ad-free episodes, early access episodes, and Patreon-exclusive shows. We've got, 9 episodes of our We Can Watch This All Day, the Marvel Alliance MCU rewatch with Iron Man 3 still on there. And then, Brent, in 2 weeks, we record episode 10, Captain America, the Winter Soldier.
Yes, we do.
You've done your homework.
I did my homework this week. Yep, we watched that one last night. 2 nights ago. Mm-hmm. And yes, it's so good. Even then, I was like, oh, there's little random things that I noticed that never noticed necessarily before. Just real tiny little stuff. But when you've seen a movie that many times, but there's a reason I've seen it that many times.
There is. We'll get into those in a couple of weeks. So, again, you've got Clay's for the first time looking at Game of Thrones. You got Travis's top 5. You've got Joe doing his 30+ days of the looking at all the Halloween movies. I think today, as we're recording this, he's dropped an episode on the 2016 Blair Witch Project, which I have not seen, but his review of it intrigues me enough to possibly check it out. So
he's cranking those things out. You got to give him credit, man.
He is committed. Daily little quick reviews on all the spooky movies that he's watching, so I applaud him on that. Katie's looking at the canon, non-canon of the Star Wars comics. A lot of great stuff there, and DC's got their version of their rewatch of looking at all the DC movies. So make sure, hopefully you patrons are really enjoying that. We really appreciate all your support you give us, and if you're not on Patreon yet, if you think about it, how about joining us on Patreon? Go to www.patreon.com/GUA Network. and join us on there. But if you can't join us on Patreon, we totally understand. But if you can rate and review the GUA or Marvel Alliance feed on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or whatever podcatcher of choice may be, we greatly appreciate that. And last but certainly not least, we want to thank our official sponsor, OrganicPriceBooks.com, for our omnibus hardcover collected edition needs. JP and the crew at OPB have got it going on with excellent customer service, immaculate packaging, ships around the world, all different kind of payment options, shipping options. Look at all these lovely omnis coming out. We got Maestro, we got Deadpool and Cable. We've got, let's see, I didn't even sort this by Marvel, but, a lot of great books that are coming out at that point. Let's see if we can find some Spider-Man. Maybe we might find some Daredevil. Nope, not this. Oh, there we go. Superior Spider-Man. I knew there was something on there.
Love Superior Spider-Man. And I was a big fan of Deadpool and Cable, that team-up book, too, back in the day.
Yeah, so check that out and use that code MARVELGUA at checkout to get $2 off every single order. Use it a limited amount of times. It lets them know that you are a listener. And we want to thank them for being our official sponsor. All right, so we've got one programming note, as we kind of hinted at the top of the show. We're not going to wait a week. We've got a new Marvel content coming out, the very first of the MCU special presentation. So we are calling this the Marvel Alliance special presentation. We will be doing our review of Werewolf by Night on Saturday night. It will not be live. We're sorry to disappoint you all that do tune in live, but it will drop on all audio feeds Sunday morning. So Brent and I will give our thoughts on this very unique and so far very, very surprisingly, at least by the reviewers, very surprisingly well liked and enjoyed review of this. I think it's clocking in around 45, 50 minutes with credits.
Yeah, that's about what I heard. At some point I heard the number 52, but I don't know where. Don't they know that's more of a DC time? But it regardless, it's longer than I thought it was going to be. I thought it was like 20, 30 minutes. So
yeah,
I'm like, great, all right. I mean, I'm really curious to see how this goes, because man, if this is anywhere close to as good as the reviews are, I hope we get more of these things.
Yeah, so it should be a lot of fun. But yeah, we'll record that Saturday night, and all audio will drop on Sunday morning, so you get a double dose of us this week. But yeah, another thing before we get into it, hope you all got your Black Panther Wakanda Forever tickets. I know I did.
Twice.
Oh, twice. Look at you.
I got 2 tickets, yep.
So make sure you check those out. Those drop today, and we will do our breakdown of the trailer later on after our big review of She-Hulk Episode 8. Look at that lovely transition I just did there. Episode 8, ribbit or rip it. I hear that, and I just think of John Daly, the golfer, where he says, you know what? I just grip it and rip it, drink it and sip it. I'm never going to change.
Ribbit and rip it. That's right.
Yeah, ribbit and rip it.
I laughed every time I heard that.
Just because it is so ridiculous. What are your high-level, non-spoiler thoughts?
Okay, I don't think it counts as a spoiler at this point to say this is the episode that so many people have been waiting for. Yes, Daredevil, of course, is in this one. That's the only spoilers I'm going to say. But I will tell you this. I loved his appearance. I absolutely loved it. Unquestionably my favorite episode of the show. Of course, I was going to be a little biased. As long as they didn't totally ruin Daredevil, it's going to be hard for me not to enjoy this one. But they really, really did a great job. And I don't feel like Jen was outshined or overshadowed or whatever in her own show. It really felt like just the two of them together was so awesome. The chemistry they had was fantastic. Pretty much almost every scene they had together. At this point, I'm just like, when do we get to see them again together? Because wow, that was awesome.
Yeah, it was smiling just watching it this morning, and after dinner when we were cleaning up before we got a chance to watch it, it reminded Aaron. I was like, "This is my favorite episode of the season." She's like, "This is when Daredevil shows up, right?" I said, "I know it's going to be amazing." all the teases, and it's finally here at that point. But I completely agree with you. I think what made it really a great episode is just they played so well off each other. They really, really played well off each other. Tatiana Maslany, Charlie Cox, having only met for this thing, it's like they've done this before. They're just one that speaks a testament to their acting ability, but they have great chemistry together. And it was a lot of fun just seeing Jen kind of start maybe going into the superhero, maybe start accepting maybe the possibility if she likes it, and just the interesting kind of lawyering that they get to kind of Jen sparring against Matt. That was a lot of fun as well.
Yeah, this episode did something that last week's did, which for the record, I really liked. I thought I enjoyed that one thoroughly. Both episodes really just had one main plot, just an A plot. There was really no real B plot to either of them, and I think they were stronger for it. I've enjoyed some of the B plots, like the one with Mr. Immortal comes to mind first off, but I do think these episodes that have really just centered around one story have been a little bit stronger, and I was really glad that was the case here because yes, been waiting for Daredevil for a long time, been waiting for Daredevil in the MCU proper for a long time, no asterisks next to it, and yes, of course we had Matt Murdock in No Way Home, but we had Matt Murdock in No Way Home. Here we had Daredevil, and so just getting to see him in a project with that Marvel Studios fanfare, that's fantastic. I'm glad they didn't do a B plot because otherwise he would have had like half the time that we did get him.
Yeah, it shows exactly the potential of what the MCU is setting up for when we do see him again in Echo and then properly in his own series in 2024. So it's, again, I couldn't stop smiling. I really, really couldn't. It's the thing we had been wishing. I mean, No Way Home confirmed it. Kevin Feige confirmed it. But until we saw those screenshots and those screen captures, and then just seeing it in live action, it's just like, it's here. It's finally happening.
I really wanted to watch it a third time today. I've gotten it twice, but today was just one of those nonstop packed, not enough time. So it's like once I left for work today, I just didn't have time to watch it a third time, but I can't be too upset not getting to watch it 3 times in one day. But I will watch it again soon.
Yes, there's a weekend coming up. So
yes, sir.
All right, so those are our non-spoiler thoughts. So if you have not seen She-Hulk episode 8, stop here, watch it, come back to us, and then we're going to take our first ad break before we get into the spoiler thoughts. So listeners, as you know, these ads help keep the lights on in the Geek Ultimate Alliance Network. We don't get to choose what ads come on. They can be a bit loud, so give it a 3 count before they come on. 3, 2, 1. We'll be right back. All right, so getting into it, the title of the episode definitely comes from, as we hear over and over again, and we get very quickly introduced to our interesting, what eventually becomes our small antagonist for the episode, Leapfrog /Frogman. A little bit of comic background. His father was a failed inventor, and his mother kept the family afloat with what money she was making, so they were constantly struggled. So Eugene's dad turned to crime by creating electronically powered coils that allowed him to jump higher than normal human and thus became Leapfrog. After he was caught by Daredevil, he went to prison. And then Eugene discovered his dad's costume, and he wanted to be a hero and not a criminal, and he chooses the moniker Frogman. They changed the story a little bit in this show where, with Eugene's dad being rich and might have hit that Eugene didn't have much shame of it, so he keeps the Leapfrog name at that point. He's very clumsy in the comics and he's not really good at controlling his jumping ability, and he is the butt of many jokes around whenever he's featured in the comics.
I loved him.
I would say they kept some of that.
He was great. He was a blast. He was funny. It's ridiculous. Like, he's trying, just when he enters in and he's like, you forgot about the guard frog. And I was like, I love the pun. I love that they went with it. But man, just please don't let that be your name. All right. Well, Leapfrog maybe isn't much better, but his base at the end, the lily pad or whatever.
Yep.
It's like just quite literally big glowing sign on it. I thought he was a ton of fun.
It's his famous base, his infamous base that everyone seems to know about except for everyone.
Everyone, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like seeing those thieves kind of load up the car debating. I like the debate they're having between OLED and QLED at that point. And the question for you, Brent, which one is superior?
When it comes to television technology, I honestly don't know that I can answer that question.
Gotcha.
So I don't feel comfortable answering that one.
I have OLED. I've never owned QLED, so I really can't necessarily say either.
I
But
know they both have their pros and cons, but I'd have to do research to adequately answer that.
the debate continues on that point. But like you said, Frogman comes in. He shows off some of his slick moves at that point, and they definitely aren't impressed, and they start beating him up, and he activates his rockets and launches, saying, "Now for my catchphrase, ribbit and rip it," and goes up, and they boots malfunction, and he comes crashing to the ground. Now, upon listening to it, I want to give a shout out to Heavy Spoilers for maybe calling this out, because upon second listen, the malfunction sounded very similar to when the Millennium Falcon doesn't get to go to light speed.
Okay. I did not pick up on that.
I did not pick up that, but I listened to it. It's like, you know what? He may have caused Inception in my mind, and I heard what I thought I heard, had a Mandela effect on me, but,
I apologize to our Star Wars Alliance friends, but I missed that one. That's awesome, though.
all in the game is saying OLED is superior. Well, there we are.
That would have been my guess, but I'm not willing to commit.
Yep. So then we flash to Eugene going to Jen and showing that he got third-degree burns on his legs, and he wants to sue the guy that made this costume. It malfunctioned. He was sold a bill of goods. And who is the man who made this costume?
I mean, it's Luke. It's her tailor. It's the guy who finally figured out how to make clothes that can fit all sides of her personality, and now she has to go sue him because her boss won't let him. Conflict of interest. Who cares? You've had much bigger conflicts of interest in the past, and that was fine too.
And you know what? He's right. I was waiting for him to call him on that, because you're gonna take your tailor over, saying your tailor conflict of interest is over your own cousin.
I mean, to be fair, she tried to get around it with the cousin, but.
Yeah, didn't work out then. It's not working out now. So he gives her the advice saying, maybe you can get him to settle and you don't have to worry about this stuff. So she goes to Luke, and he thinks she's there to rush him to get the dress for the gala done. And he says, no, I'm kind of here for something else. And she tells him what she's here for, and that he's got a client that's accusing him of a malfunctioning suit, and he is grossly offended. He says, I have never messed up on a suit or a costume or whatever. And he basically says, fine, you know what? You are blacklisted. And he destroys her dress for the gala and bans her from the store and says, get out, clown, go away.
And she couldn't open the elevator. She had to ask for someone to hit the button for her, because I guess there's not a button there. But it's ridiculous that this is the premise that it brought Daredevil into the MCU. But I love it.
It is. And so after the title sequence, we rush to the courtroom, and there's Jen with Eugene, and Luke's sitting there without his lawyer, and Jen kind of leans over and is like, man, he's going to represent himself. This is an easy slam dunk case. And the judge asks Luke, saying, hey, you representing yourself as a lawyer, or you have a lawyer? He says, my lawyer's here. And in walks into the courtroom. Yes, we've been waiting for it. It still was cool. Matt freaking Murdock coming in, making some quick jokes about he had trouble finding a parking spot, when he said, no, really, my guy who was driving me got lost.
And then what is Jen's response when he walks in? She looks right at the camera. Who's this asshole?
And a blind guy for a lawyer? Oh, man, even beggar slam dunk. Luke can't even afford a good lawyer.
Yeah.
And we know how wrong she really is. And he defends Luke very well, talking about, he wants the judge to overrule Jen's request to get look at his client list so that they can come and testify to how well he creates the suits for them. And he argues, saying, hey, they're superheroes. They have secret identities. That's not necessarily the thing they need to be doing. That's not right. He needs to protect it. It's like it's a different kind of client privilege at that point. And he reveals at that point that the Sokovia Accords have been repealed.
So, okay, the Sokovia Accords being repealed. It's like, one, I had forgotten that they said the Sokovia Accords would be addressed at some point in this show. So I was genuinely surprised at that. And I'm just like, I've wondered. It's like, since the events of Endgame, we've had 2 Spider-Man movies, we've had Ms. Marvel, we've had Shang-Chi. It's like all these movies is like, would someone talk about what the status is of this stuff? Like, are they still in play or not? It's nice to know now that they're not. And you know what? After the events of Endgame, they shouldn't be. All those people, like the UN basically should have said, no, we're done with this stuff. You guys saved our bacon. You guys can just be superheroes as you want.
It was good to finally hit it. They did say it as the show was getting ready to premiere that the Sokovia Accords would directly adjust. We just had to wait all this time to finally hear for once and for all that they were finally over. All the Games got a question for us. Isn't Matt only licensed to practice in New York State, a system I've never understood? I mean, that we know of. I'm assuming because he's going out there to California, he may have gotten his dual license.
I mean, the very fact that he was just practicing proves he is licensed to do it. Mm-hmm. But it is worth noting in the comics he's been licensed in California before.
Yep.
In fact, he's been licensed in California but disbarred in New York before. So
yes.
It's like, it happens.
Yeah.
Well, it happens to him anyway.
It does. And so, but the judge agrees with Matt and denies the request because of that reason. And so Matt takes a smell and he asks Eugene, what kind of fuel did he use for the rocket boots? And Eugene proudly says jet fuel, to which Luke says, what jet fuel? That is not what my instructions told you to use. You used the wrong thing, then that's why it messed up. And Jen's like, excuse me? Looking at Eugene, how much of an idiot are you? The whole case at that point is tanked for Jen.
Oh, yeah. It's over at that point. Of course, Matt wins it for Luke. I want to know, what fuel was he supposed to use?
I don't know either, but I do like when Eugene's trying to deny it at that point, what he just said. Matt goes, he's lying. Don't ask me how I know that.
And the judge, we can all tell he's lying.
I know, yeah. And so Jen is begging Luke, hey, this whole thing's over. I'm sorry. You know, can we go back to the way things were? And he's like, no, sorry. Continue on. So then we flash to Jen's at the bar, and she gets brought an appletini by the bartender, and she's like, "Who's this from?" He says, "The guy over there." And who is sitting there with a nice smirk on his face? Mr. Murdoch.
Mr. Murdoch, yes. Now we get to see them really interact. I mean, it was great in the courtroom, but now just to see them have a conversation.
Yeah, so he talks to her about, that he has gets to know who he is. Like, I've got a firm in Hell's Kitchen, mainly does pro bono work, but when he needs to make money to keep the firm up, he does defend some of the higher ups of clients at that point. So we've got some confirmation. He's got a firm in Hell's Kitchen, confirmed. He's got his own firm. So is a Foggy Nelson his partner? He didn't say, but I'm assuming.
I was like, come on, just hint at it. Nope, they're going to leave us hanging on that one.
Yeah, they will. No care, no utterance, but we've got a few little hints of confirmations at that point. And so the conversation between them is not just a get to know you, but it's also very flirty. Matt in the comics is very flirty. In the Netflix show, very flirty.
That
a womanizer.
Is a nice way to put it. He is a slut. Like, I mean, just call it what it is.
Well, it's he is. David's right. He's putting the moves on Jen at that point.
Indeed.
Exactly. Billy Kaplan's in the chat. Howdy, Billy. And so he's putting the moves on Jen, but it's proven the points. Like, Jen is an attractive woman. She doesn't need She-Hulk to necessarily be thought of as attractive and pursued by a man at that point. And Matt is a nice guy. So much so, like, he's giving her advice, as they're sparring back and forth, saying, I think that you're in a unique position to do some real good. And, he says the law helps, you can use the law to help people when society fails them. She-Hulk can help people when the law fails them.
Yeah, I like that. And it's like, you could tell that's like conversations he's had with himself, right? Like, you're taking it from both directions. They're trying to work inside the law, work around the law. And this is somebody who can do that with him. Like, somebody who can truly understand things about his life that no one else can, because how often do you meet another superhero lawyer?
But I just like that. Like when you can use the law when society fails them, She-Hulk can do that when the law fails them. It's what, like you said, what Matt does, what a lot of superheroes do at that point. I mean, just remember that whole thing in Ben Affleck's Daredevil. When the guy gets away with it.
I need to rewatch that. It's been so long since I've seen that.
And just takes out the guy on the L train.
Yep.
Right. So it's good advice, but as he takes a phone call, she gets a text from Todd, Mr. Todd, at that point, asking to see her and saying, "Hey, I thought Mr. Holloway said this is a 24/7 kind of law firm. Do I need to call and confirm?"
I do not like Todd. I'm like, I know you're not really supposed to, but I don't even like him as a bad guy. I'm like, you're just annoying. Just no. Like she summed it up great with that makes me uncomfortable regarding his Wakandan claims, and so just Todd, screw that guy.
So it's one of those just interesting. Just like he's sleazy even in text messages, like in there. So. Matt comes there, says, "I gotta go. I got a kind of a lawyer thing," and she's like, "I kind of got a lawyer thing too," and they part ways. He's like, maybe he doesn't want to leave. So, and even Jen says, "Is this the kind of the thing?" And I mean, I'm kind of into him, basically.
Yeah, just like you guys can feel that too, right? Like just
Yep.
says it right too. It's like yes, we all feel it. There's the tension there between the two of you.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully, you get to seal the deal, and sure enough, they do later.
Yeah, so Jen meets Todd, and he's bragging about how he just bought a Wakandan spear on an auction, and now they're apparently demanding they get it back because it was illegally obtained by colonizers. And then he goes like, "Wakanda forever," and she's
Oh
just
my
like,
God,
"No,
it's so cringy."
It's just like, "No, please don't do that ever." And then he's like, "Let's be honest." And he tries to put the moves on her, and she's, "No, get out, no," and walks away, makes a very public exit, and says, "I'm still billing you for the hour."
Yeah, she should bill him for 2 for that nonsense.
All in the game is saying, Wakanda seriously needs to own Damage Control S Team. For example, an offshoot of the Dora, like Midnight Angels, that goes around the world recovering valuable vibranium items like the Sat Spear.
That may be coming. I mean, it is possible the Midnight Angels are going to be a thing. We'll find out here in about a month.
Yeah, exactly. Very, very, very true. So, my thing is, he says this. He's very much promoting he got this spear. We don't know if he just got the spear or is just trying to like make Jen have a conversation with, because he could have already melted that down to make the needle for intelligentsia.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
that's really what I was thinking too. It's like I wonder if what episode was whatever episode it was that we saw the guy with the needles 2 or 3 episodes ago, like at the end of the episode. Were those needles vibranium? Were those from the spear?
That's what I'm thinking.
He has the picture of, right? I mean, it kind of seems like it's got to be.
Yeah. So she goes home, gets a call from Eugene saying he's being chased and needs help. And so she gets ready to leave, and then she pauses and says, thinking like, "Oh, I got something else to put on at that point if I'm going to be superheroing." So she puts on the suit that Luke made her, and we cue to, some devil-looking guy on the top of Eugene's car, trying to get him to stop at that point. She-Hulk shows up and basically, jumps in front of the car that, Eugene basically hits and ruins the front end of his car, and out flies this guy off of the car. We pan up. We've seen it in the trailers. We've seen his stuff, and we get our look at Daredevil in his gold and red armor.
I love it. I mean, overall, I like the red more, but it's really cool to get to see this costume, to get to see the yellow costume. I'm glad they did it, and give me the choice. I would like to see this costume a little bit more before most likely going back to the classic red.
Yeah. She says she's going to whoop his ass, and she fails. And at one point he says his ass remains unwhooped. I think they did a very good job with the acrobatics and his fighting style in She-Hulk. I think it was very much on point to what we got at the Netflix show.
Yeah, and I saw some people saying he felt too acrobatic, and I'm like, maybe it's a budget thing. I don't know, but yes, he. I thought he did feel a little more acrobatic than what we saw in some of that Netflix stuff, but not like so extreme that it wasn't plausible, right? Like it's not like I suddenly felt like he had all these superpowers he didn't have before. Like he still felt the same.
Yeah. Eugene is speeding away. Daredevil's giving chase while She-Hulk's going after him on the ground. Then Jen does the thunderclap, knocking Matt down. She grabs onto him, takes off his mask to see who he really is. Matt's really got to work on that a bit. Like people not unmasking him so quickly.
Well, he struggles with that in the comics too, but it did seem, I will say this, it did seem like, considering his hearing, that he got over that thunderclap pretty fast.
Yeah.
It's like that should have laid him out pretty good. But I'm kind of surprised we didn't see like the blood coming out of his ears or whatever. But regardless, that whole conversation that they then had, like she just immediately questions. She's like, "Are you even blind? Because that's a bit of a problem if you're not."
Which they have dealt with in the comics too.
Mm-hmm. It's just so much fun.
Did you catch in the background? We got a little Easter egg in the background while they're having this conversation.
She asked him if he was called the Gold Devil.
No, not that. A billboard advertising Rogers the musical.
Yes. Okay. Yes. Which maybe lines up the time, but really the way musicals will last probably doesn't.
No.
Regardless, it's good to see Rogers the musical as being successful.
Yes, exactly. But like you said, she says, "Is your name Gold Devil?" And then we get a cue of the Netflix theme for Daredevil, and he says, "No, I'm Daredevil," and she's just like, "Okay."
The theme, man, Marvel is they're really killing it with the themes between the X-Men one in Doctor Strange and in Miss Marvel, and then the Daredevil theme in this. Now, my guess is that this could be all of the acknowledgement we get to the Netflix shows until we see Matt interact with another one of the Defenders characters.
Or Kingpin.
Well, I would count him among them. But like of that cast, because at that point maybe they'll acknowledge his past. But as president of the shows we're not canon and certainly we're always ignored fan club there, I am willing to take this as okay, at this point today I think of them as canon. Today I think of them as canon. There's obviously a few continuity issues, but on the whole I think of them as that today because we have the same character, we have the same actor. They have done nothing that contradicts the shows yet, and they're using the theme from it. So as of right now, I think of those shows as canon.
All right,
but it's not like I'm so sold on it that if they contradict it later, okay, that's fine.
Yeah. So he basically reveals too that he's chasing Eugene because he's kidnapped Luke. And Jen ain't having any of that.
Yeah.
So they go to his hideout, the infamous lily pad, with big neon sign. I love that on the top of the building at that point. And if you catch it off to the side as they're in the car, there's a QR code on the utility pole, and it will give you She-Hulk number 9, where Matt Murdock does appear as a lawyer. Eugene is forcing Luke to make him a better suit, which is even more complex than Luke, and Luke quips many times at his disapproval of what he's doing, including the color that he chose.
Yeah, what is it? They said it was like mustard and ketchup or something.
No,
not
Eugene.
okay. I thought you meant Daredevil's
color.
No, so Eugene's the green, the leapfrog suit.
Yeah,
my fault.
Yep, but on the roof, Daredevil and Jen are trying to debate like how they're going to go in. Daredevil wants to go in stealthy like he usually does. Jen's like, I can Hulk out. I'm invincible. There's nothing. It's like, and Matt brings up a good point saying, I do this on a daily basis. You've never done this. So we're going with how I want to do things.
I like their discussion about goons versus henchmen.
Yes, that was very good. And I think about it, say, yeah, I buy that. Henchmen are buying to the cause and goons are hireable mercenaries.
Yeah, it totally worked for me. And it was just fun. And, her making fun of how slow it would be in the math and stuff in 30 minutes when it was really like 2 minutes or whatever.
She doesn't do math.
No. Their entire interaction, they're like Charlie Cox, Tatiana Maslany, the chemistry between these two is unreal.
Yes, it is very, very good. So Daredevil and Jen bust up on the main pad. We first get a nice little hallway sequence. Not a big hallway. It's not like the true kind of hallway sequence, but that's done on purpose as well.
Yeah, I was playing Marvel Ultimate Alliance on the Switch with my son the other day. And we're playing the Shadowland episode, and you're running down a hall. Daredevil is like an NPC in that level, and he makes a crack about liking hallways or liking fights in hallways. And then it's like, yes, they're doing the hallway scene. They're doing one, like just a little nod to it. And then they're queuing up the big hallway fight, right? Like you're like, okay, this is going to be a good one. And the whole time I'm just waiting for She-Hulk to bust through the wall. Close. It was through the roof, but
bam, knocks them all down.
So good.
And she said, She-Hulk smash.
She-Hulk smash, yeah. She does have to work on her delivery of that line if she's going to use it. Needs a little more emphasis.
It does. So then in the lily pad, we see a frog signal. We see Frogger and Leapfrog video games. So.
They're vintage.
They are. They're very much. And Daredevil and Jen bust in the main pad, and Leapfrog or Frogman or whatever we're calling him, she's telling him, Eugene, saying, hey, you got to stop doing this. I'm trying to help you so that you don't get any more legal trouble. We still have a chance to maybe put this as like temporary insanity, manic. And then I love how Matt cues up saying, yeah, that it's a little murky, but it's definitely a plausible defense. Maybe you'd throw some PTSD in there.
Yeah. And he's like, is the yellow ninja guy a lawyer also?
No, I just watch a lot of legal dramas.
That's right.
And so he eventually tries to escape, going out the window, rip it, and misjudges that he actually has to use his legs in order to escape, and fails miserably. And so they get arrested, and Jen goes to Luke. Luke says, fine, all's forgiven. I'll finish your gala dress. And she goes up to the roof as Matt's kind of brooding up there and just looking down. And she's like, when are you going home? And he's like, tomorrow. And he said, maybe next time I come out here, I can buy you a dinner. And she's just like, maybe we can just bypass that and do something now.
Yeah. Good call. And then how funny was it when she was trying to take his suit off and couldn't find the zippers?
Yeah, that is good. But I want to point out something I pointed out to you earlier today. Jen in the getting with men department, sleeping with them 2 She-Hulks 1.
Yep,
that we have seen.
And that this one's a win, right? Like we know he's a good guy. Like he's not Josh or he's not that other guy. He's a genuinely good person, and she kind of needed that. She needed the win, especially what happens at the end of this one.
Yes, exactly. And so the next morning we see him walking out in costume in daylight, walk of shame style.
Walk of shame. Oh my God, it's so amazing.
And Jen's like looking at breaking the fourth wall, saying, "Why are you still here?" It's like the show should have ended. It came to a very natural conclusion, a very good conclusion at this point. And she's like, are we getting ready to introduce a big twist? Maybe a Red Hulk? Maybe I'm going to get fridged?
Oh my gosh, I could not believe that they said that. The Red Hulk was shock enough, and then the fridge thing. It's like, good grief. Earlier in the chat, Brock had mentioned the fourth wall breaking was really great in this episode, and I completely agree, but I think this was the highlight right here. This moment, like, this episode seemed to come to a satisfactory conclusion. Trust me, it did. Yep. And it just goes on. It's like, yeah, I see what you're talking about there.
And I like how in Geekverse, Travis Nell brings out the point. It's like, yeah, she's literally saying all the things I think about.
Oh, yeah.
David saying, come for the She-Hulk, stay for the Jen.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's a good way to go about it.
Yep. And so and for those that don't know what fridging a character means, Brent, it revolves around your favorite Green Lantern, so I'll let you take it away.
Yeah, when Kyle Rayner first, came in the 90s as Green Lantern, his first appearance was like 48, 49, but in the early 50s, he's Green Lantern, and Major Force, the first big major villain he goes after, Kyle pisses him off. Major Force goes after him, finds his girlfriend Alex, shoved her in a fridge, and just killed her. And basically, fridging someone is... typically refers to, well, not typically, it refers to killing a woman to further the story and add motivation to a male character. You cannot fridge a male. It doesn't work that way. But Brock GL54, thank you for that, Brock, man. And then, gosh, who was it that made the website? Because it became a whole... Oh,
I can't remember.
Was it Gail Simone? It just like an entire website, something like Women in Refrigerators, basically calling this kind of stuff out in media. And if you really think about it and you watch a lot of TV, watch a lot of movie, often the woman does get fridged because she gets killed to drive home and motivate the male protagonist. In my opinion, this is not a scenario of it. But I think that you can make the argument. I've seen people say that Aunt May was fridged in Spider-Man No Way Home. I do feel like that's a little different, but I get it. I really wouldn't argue either way. I get it.
It's a trope, but I'm very impressed that she brings it up at that point of him getting fridged.
Yes, and Brock is confirming it was Gail Smith.
Yes.
So thank you, Brock.
So then Nikki walks in and comes over and said, "Hey, I walked by this guy and dressed in a devil costume. Looks like he's doing the walk of the shame." And Jen's like, "Yeah, I did the shaming."
Yes.
And I just love how she says, and the episode just came to a satisfying conclusion, and I can verify that.
So Nikki was there to help her get ready for the gala.
Yep.
And we get the comments, "Oh, we're doing the gala this week. That is next episode, the finale." But did you catch what Nikki did with like the bits of makeup she had with her? Yeah,
get some Wolverine claws on her.
Puts them between her fingers and definitely does her own Wolverine. That's the second Wolverine reference in this show by my count.
Yeah, it is. So more confirmation of Wolverine existing. We'll see. Yeah. So we cut to the gala, and we get to the female lawyers of the year, and Jen gets called up, and Jen She-Hulk Walters, and she thinks she's won it, and then they just call up all the women that have been nominated because I guess everyone's a winner in this thing, and they basically the MC is asking each one of the women up there that have won the award, saying, "How does it feel to be a female lawyer?" It's like very Miss America pageanty, and Madison gives the best response, channeling basically what Jen says to Bruce in the very first episode. It's like, I do 10 times the work, I get half the pay and half the recognition, and I constantly get asked what it's like being a female lawyer. I was like,
yeah, such a dig. I love
it. And I just love Pug and Nikki just like doing the snaps at that point. I said, "Amen, amen." I am so glad they called this stuff out.
Oh yeah, that show's great at it. That's going to piss off all the right people.
Yes, and I'm very happy it does. And then when Jan's getting her chance to speak, trying to thank her parents, we get a cut in on the screen from the intelligentsia cutting in to say that show the real She-Hulk and showing everything that Josh got off her phone. And then starts getting, looks like a camera that was Josh had set up when he was
when he slept over
at that point. And again, that was what they've dealt on the show, like Jen hooking up at that point is one thing, but I mean just the Disney Plus version of this still, I was a little saying, wow, we're going there at that point.
Yeah. There were two people from the intelligentsia on the screen. Like they cut to him a couple times. I was really trying to like figure out, it's like, is there any chance, is one of those Tim Blake Nelson? I don't think so, but maybe our leader is there. We'll find out.
Maybe. I definitely think one of them's Josh though. I definitely think one of them is at that point.
I think if he's not on the video, he's there somewhere.
But it's one of those things like as Jen's seeing this happen and everyone's getting shocked because they're seeing basically Jen sleeping with a guy at that point, and her parents are there seeing this, and she's getting so angry. Madison's like says, "Jen, don't do it," and she's ripping it down. And this is just a commentary on what happens to a lot of not just celebrities but even normal everyday women when this stuff gets out there, and as revenge for exes or men they've been with at that point to get back at them, to embarrass them. And it's just like, she did nothing wrong. She did absolutely nothing wrong. She didn't do anything at this point, and I know exactly what they're doing.
They're trying to shame her.
Yeah, they're slut shaming her.
They called her a slut in the middle of
it. And it's just like, just when she's in her moment of getting some recognition at that point, they're tearing it on. We know exactly what they're doing, but this is again commentary of what happens to many women, celebrity or otherwise, and it's terrible, it's awful, and they're bringing attention to this. It's just like it's wrong. It's absolutely wrong and deplorable.
And of course, she doesn't have anything to be embarrassed by, but she is still embarrassed by her private life being put on display in front of her friends, her colleagues, her parents, and all these other people that she doesn't know, but she's still embarrassed by it. You can't blame her for going savage She-Hulk at this point.
Yeah, exactly. David saying revenge porn is illegal because, intelligentsia has good law-abiding citizens, and all in the games in Disney MCU touching on the topic of revenge porn. Yeah, it is. Yeah, exactly. As Mario Parker in the chat, her pure existence threatens them. Yeah, exactly. It's all these man babies. They've been slowly building the intelligentsia, even though they named it about halfway through the season. They've been building this idea about this, and it's just like, you know what? Her existence threatens them and makes them feel less like she stole Hulk's power. Give me a break. Give me a break. But she goes savage She-Hulk, tears it all down, and starts going after. She sees masked individuals in the background, so she knows who they are, and she's going after them, grabs one of them, who I am very much convinced that's Todd.
I hope so.
But outside, as she's holding him, damage control shows up and has guns trained on her, and she releases Todd, and the episode ends with her looking directly at the screen, just kind of saying, "Oh God, what have I done?"
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And this is what Bruce was warning her. And it's not saying, "Hey Bruce," I'm not trying to say Bruce told you so, but I don't blame her for what she did. This is anyone's normal reaction to what she just got, just mortified.
Yeah. It'll be real interesting to see what happens. Like Damage Control or whoever that was, I assume it was Damage Control. They got there awfully fast.
They did. It's almost like someone called them ahead of time. Kind of like
really
No Way Home style. J. Jonah Jameson.
I really, really wonder if that's the case.
Yeah. But yeah, we've got a lot, again, it's going to be interesting to see how this wraps up. I don't know, like, how long we're going to see, what the fallout's going to be. Are we going to get a big fight scene? There's a lot on the table here. I'm still kind of convinced, I still think, I think we're going to get Bruce and Blonsky meeting. I still think we're getting that.
I hope we do. Like, it would be, one, it'd just be cool to see this particular Hulk with the Abomination meet up. But just seeing Bruce and Emil, like, it feels like it would be a missed opportunity. But if we do, does that mean Bruce is back from wherever he went to in space, Sakaar or whatever? I don't know. I kind of feel like if we see Bruce again, it'll be a credit scene, and that'll be it.
Be fair. Mara Parker saying Todd was in the audience watching, sitting next to Jen's boss. Yep, we saw him with Jen's boss at that point, but he was unfazed when the video played. Yep, exactly. So again, more evidence piling up. But I know we got some questions, but I think we need to take our next ad break at that. But before we get into that, so listeners, again, these ads help keep the lights on the Geek Ultimate Alliance network. We don't get to choose what ads come on, and they can be a bit loud. So give you that 3 count before they come on. 3, 2, 1. We'll be right back. All right. So what are some of our She-Hulk centered questions from your signal you put out?
Sure. First up from David, will She-Hulk be the last time that we hear the Netflix Daredevil theme?
I say no. I think we'll get another whisper of it in Echo.
I like your optimism. If we hear it again, I think it'll be in Daredevil Born Again, but I don't think it'll be the theme song like of the show. Right?
Could you see them taking parts of it and building their new theme song off of it?
Yeah, like maybe incorporate it into something new. Yeah, I could see that potentially. But I think the most likely scenario is a repeat of what we saw today, where we just get the little hint of it and then that's it.
Gotcha.
All right, from Carlos, can we stop all further production of Daredevil and the Punisher on Disney Plus? I have no confidence they will do it justice. I'm not looking for a comedy out of the Punisher. That's good. Punisher wasn't in this episode.
And I did follow up with Carlos at that point saying, is there anything besides the comedy that worries him? I did not hear a response back. He might have not gotten to it at that point, but definitely would like, feel free to follow up and respond to that. We'll bring it up next week as well. But I understand, one thing I'll impress upon this, and you and I have said this on the show. They're not the Netflix shows are still there for you, Carlos, and again, you are entitled to your opinion on that you want to them to continue what Daredevil did. Now remember, She-Hulk is not has been billed as a comedy. It's been showing as this kind of situational comedy. So to have maybe broody Daredevil as much as we saw on Netflix, the Netflix series may have not rung true. Now, again, in the comics, Matt is very quippy. Matt is also not necessarily Spider-Man quippy, but he is kind of
he holds his own. He
holds his own at that point. I can understand your hesitation and again, your confidence in it. I'll be the one to say that I want to wait and see to when we get out of a She-Hulk, and let's see him in Echo. Echo is very much billed very differently. Born Again is billed differently. It's your choice. It is completely your choice about where you're going to give it a chance or not. You still have those shows. We still have no confirmation if Punisher is officially coming into the MCU at that point, but again, this is a different type of show, and for what they did and showed off with Matt. And again, we don't know where in Matt's career we are necessarily. Has he faced down a Wilson Fisk? Has he done Bullseye? Has he faced down the Hand or anything like that? So where we see Matt in Netflix at that point, like he's dealing with a lot of different. I mean, one could say the season 1 he's not dealing with, but he's dealing with a lot he's put on himself. But as he goes through those, it gets worse and worse for everything he's put down on him. So we're dealing with a different Matt in a different time, but we don't have all those answers yet. Again, I understand your hesitation, but I would say like let's wait until we get maybe to Echo before we start maybe seeing what MCU full proper Daredevil would be. Again, that's just me.
Let's remember that people act differently in different situations around different people. Mm-hmm. The way that you act at work is probably not 100% identical to the way you act at home, and the way you act around, let's say, friends of yours at work versus just people who would be colleagues but not really friends. Again, two different situations. The way you're going to act. Like I don't act around like if I'm helping like a teacher on the phone or something at work. The way I talk to them is very different from how I might talk to my friends. And so I will joke a lot more with my friends. It's like, it's Same. Different situations and you act differently. Now think back, let's say this is again, the same Daredevil, like truly the same Daredevil. It's all canon. What was happening in those 3 seasons plus the Defenders? Of course he wasn't super quippy and, happy and having fun. What was happening in here? 1, he was probably trying to impress this girl that he was very attracted to. And 2, he was fighting somebody named Leapfrog and his goons or henchmen, whatever they decided. Henchgoons, I believe they were called. It's just a different situation.
Yeah.
No, I don't think we should have the Punisher in an episode of She-Hulk that's billed as a sitcom.
Yeah.
That doesn't make a lot of sense to me. But context is everything. And in this context, I think Daredevil was perfect.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. All in the Game. Yeah, we talked about that a couple of episodes ago, that Punisher is rumored to be kind of...
I hope so.
Yeah, rumored to be replacing what Jessica Jones was supposed to be a bigger part of it. Now Punisher may be, so we'll kind of wait and see on that part. The View with Drew is in the chat saying, do you guys think Charlie Cox Daredevil was done well or ruined? I think we're pretty much, in agreement, at least in this episode, done very well.
I don't understand how this could ruin it. I genuinely don't, because those shows are still there. Now, maybe it'd be different if, like, once Disney got the light or the distribution rights to those shows back, if they just didn't put them on Disney Plus or Hulu or make them available for purchase. Like, if they truly were not available, that's one thing. But they're all right there. I know they're all right there because I'm still in the middle of a rewatch. Not in the middle. I'm in season 2 of The Punisher, so I'm getting towards the end. But I've been rewatching all the Defender stuff for the last several months. Like, it's all still there for you to enjoy. No, in my opinion, it does not ruin a past event. Things sometimes go the opposite way, where something later down the line I think can enhance something, but it very, very, very rarely, and I can't even think of a scenario right now, ruins something past. It does. I lied. I can think of one, but we don't need to get into it. It's just super rare that happens.
Yeah, and again, if if it's not the way you want to see Daredevil, totally. We are not telling you you're not wrong. That's
and you don't have to watch
yeah,
it by any
yeah,
means. Like, it's
yeah.
totally fine to just not watch it. Like, I've said that to so many people on TikTok. It's like, you don't like She-Hulk? Great, quit watching. Like, you don't have to. It's okay.
Yeah, we don't think less of you. It's a choice, like with everything else.
There's so much content right now between like, not just this stuff, but there's House of Dragon and there's Rings of Power, whatever the Lord of the Rings show is that I haven't watched it. There's so much stuff out there right now. There's not enough time to spend it on hate watching.
Yeah.
So if you don't like it, just don't watch it.
Yeah. So, what we got next?
All right. Let's see. From Matt M. Will Daredevil Born Again be the next time we see Jennifer Walters or She-Hulk?
I don't think we're gonna see Jennifer Walters in Born Again.
I think let's address that. But I think this is asking, will we see Jennifer again prior to that?
Okay. Well,
let me rephrase it. When do you think we see Jennifer next?
I think Captain America and New World Order.
I think that is most likely the next time we will see her as well. That said, Born Again is 18 episodes. Maybe have one. Bring her in for one.
I could see her for one. I just don't. Right now, I don't see her transforming yet. I could see maybe Jen. I don't know about She-Hulk.
It's going to very largely depend on the story of
Yes, I agree with that.
Again. If they are going for an overall tone closer to the Netflix shows, maybe she won't fit as much. But if they're going for something that's a little lighter in tone, which perfectly fits Daredevil, just to be clear, then bring her in for an episode.
Yeah, definitely not opposed to it. Like you said, I think that's exactly the right words. Like, it all depends. I do not want her shoot in just to have that random cameo that makes no sense.
DC Outlaw basically had the similar question. Talked about how much the chemistry between the two surprised him, and then do we think Jen could return the favor? Yeah, we definitely want it to happen. We'll see if it does. DC Outlaw also said, if She-Hulk were to have another season, I think she could have a worthwhile team ups with Jessica Jones and or Patsy Walker, since I know they've teamed up in the comics. Do you have any hopes for what a season 2 would entail? What other team ups would you like to see? I love the Jessica Jones idea because she is so has no patience and no nonsense for that. The polar opposites would be a lot of fun because She-Hulk would drive Jessica Jones nuts, and I would love to see it.
And there were a lot of rumors we had reported on this show too, that a lot of rumors said that Jessica Jones was supposed to be kind of in an episode or two of this.
Yeah, there's a rumor she might even appear. I guess we don't technically know, but I think we can safely assume at this point that that's not the case. Any hopes for a presumed season 2 of what other team ups you might like?
I got nothing. I'll be honest, I got nothing.
How about Ben Grimm, the Thing? I think that would be fun.
Here's the thing. Those two, every now and then they end up teaming up together. It's fun. I think that could be a lot of fun. Honestly, I would say bring back Daredevil. But I think what I have appreciated about the show is bring in more of those D-list characters. Bring in D-Man. There you go. Bring in D-Man.
D-Man, the one that a lot of people tried to say that wasn't Daredevil, it was D-Man.
I know, yeah.
I would like more of those characters, but maybe give us it doesn't have to be Wong, but someone else from the MCU, already an established MCU character. Give us another one of those just to kind of show up for an episode or two as well. Yeah. And that'd be a lot of fun.
Yeah, I'd say that. That's definitely good.
All right. One last related to She-Hulk. A little more indirectly this time. Mr. Hines. Since the Sokovia Accords are repealed, I guess we can all say Cap was right. Tony's taking the L's from beyond the grave.
I'll let you answer first.
I need to, this is where I mentioned that, Captain America Civil War is probably, I don't think it's the best MCU movie, but it's probably my favorite MCU movie. I adore that movie. And I am a card-carrying member of Team Cap to this day. Brock, I know you're Team Iron Man. I don't need to hear it. Captain America wasn't right. That's kind of the thing. He was right about some stuff. I mean, but not everything, right? I think he was right about the Sokovia Accords. But the biggest part of that, the Sokovia Accords were just a catalyst. The fight was over Bucky. The fight was specifically over Bucky being framed for killing T'Chaka, right? And Captain America was right about that. He didn't, so sure, but he was wrong because Bucky did kill Tony's parents. And Cap never said anything. right? Like this is not a black and white situation, so I don't think anybody's taking L's, any additional L's that haven't already been taken.
Well, in the when reading Civil War in the comics, I was Team Cap all the way. Absolutely Team Cap. I am Team Iron Man in Civil War in the movie in the MCU. I'm Team Iron Man.
I can respect it.
Yep. Not just it's a discussion we can have. Maybe table that for maybe something later. That point.
That might be fun on our Patreon show for that episode.
Yeah. Yep.
But it's definitely not a black. I don't think there's any kind of black and white in my.
No, there's not. There's a lot of gray. There's very much, and that doesn't mean I completely disagree with what Cap is saying in that movie either.
David says in the chat, "I don't care. He killed my mom." Yeah, exactly right. Like, and Captain America knew about it. People forget that he knew about it. Go rewatch some Winter Soldier. He knew about it.
That's why he can't lift this hammer in Ultron.
There it is.
All right, so a lot of great questions at that point. We got a penultimate episode. Disney Plus knows how to deliver those penultimate episodes. Typically, they do.
They really do.
Yep. So, all right, so we've got our final episode. It'll be our last episode of of the year for Disney Plus shows.
Yeah, I mean, kind of. I mean,
our last series-wise episode at that point.
Yeah, but we do have Werewolf by Night tomorrow, and we have the Guardians Holiday Special later.
We do. But I was just saying, for series, last one of the year at that point, but not content. We still have got plenty.
Yeah, gosh, they're giving us so little content this year.
I know, yeah. All right, so let us move to the news because we had this episode. We have this lovely. I think we can both precisely say that this is this was our favorite episode of the season.
Absolutely, and if I'm being honest, I don't know how next week could possibly top it for me. But again, I acknowledge my bias. I love the Daredevil character so much, and I love the comic incarnations. I even like the Ben Affleck one. But the Charlie Cox one is still my favorite, so yes.
Yep. Louis Barry in the chat saying, hope to get OG Hulk setting up World War Hulk, Wong, Madison, 2 post-credits. He's got a long list of demands here, man. Louis, I like, you got to swing for the fences. You got to try,
If you don't ask for it, the answer is going to be no every time, right? So
exactly. Got to be no, yeah. So, all right. Well, let us transition to, we got what'll probably be our, what do you think? Is this our last trailer?
It's my last trailer. I'm saying that now. It's my last trailer. I don't need any more. I don't want any more. No.
I mean, we've got basically two very, I think, tones of trailer. What the first, the teaser trailer, this official trailer has a slightly different tone to it, and I'll bring it up now. This is a march to war.
Yeah, the first one really felt a little more somber to me, but the first trailer to me felt like, yes, you're all going to go cry your eyes out because we're about to honor Chadwick Boseman, we're about to honor T'Challa. This one is more like, but you're going to have some of that Marvel fun also, and we're going to see some great spectacle, just some cool characters, some returning of old favorites. We're going to meet some new characters, and it's not all going to be just doom and gloom, Yes, I really like the two different trailers and the tones they took with them.
Mm-hmm. So, all right, I'm queuing it up. It's slightly minimized, no sound, and we'll stop at various points. So here we go. So we got the Marvel Studios logo, silver and black, appropriate. All right here, I'm going to stop right here. The trailer opens with what was missing from the teaser, and as we queue up at that point, this is Shuri that is holding. This is actually T'Challa's mask from Civil War as Black Panther.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And we see black in Wakanda is a symbol of strength, while wearing white is them all wearing white. They're viewing this as a celebration, and I'm not sure. I think I might have written that down a little too early. So the song in the background of this is Never Forget by Sampa the Great, and it sets a very different tone, as we already said. The first trailer we had on the background, No Woman, No Cry.
Yeah, great song.
All this is interwoven with scenes we see from, and we get Namor and his kingdom talking about how the most broken people can become great leaders, and the images he is painting on the wall.
I love the look of him, but we'll talk about that more in
Yeah,
a minute or so.
as we get closer looks at it. Now, in the background, we see the statue of the first Black Panther right here off to the left-hand side, and that's Bashenga, and then the Panther god underneath him, Bast. So we get another closer look at Namor. Then we got Shuri, doing the, Wakanda Forever sign. Now, again, bringing up, bringing up the two thoughts on how T'Challa might die. One thought is in a battle early on with a CGI body double with someone else in the suit or a mysterious illness. We also have another actress who has passed away at the conclusion of filming this. Dorothea Steele died after production wrapped, and she was reprising her role as the merchant tribe leader. So this will be her a send off for her as well.
Yeah.
And we get the scenes we've seen before. Namor going down at that point.
Yeah, I really like how his underwater city looks. And his I guess crown, for lack of a better phrase, his headdress is just awesome looking.
Now I can possibly see like whomever takes on the Black Panther travel to the ancestral plane will probably see Killmonger.
I think there's a good chance of that happening. Michael B. Jordan has said a couple things like implying he would be interested in coming back if there was some way to do it. I could absolutely see it. Let's just say hypothetically it's Shuri who takes up the mantle, right? Mm-hmm. She gets the herb, she goes to the ancestral plane. Well, we know she can't see her brother.
Yeah.
Like we understand why that can't happen. But she has a cousin. She could see him.
Yeah. All right, so we see that. We see Koye crying at that point. The empty throne room. All right, we got a deep sea kind of oil rig. We got a guy kind of staring out. And we've got, this, deep sea divers, ships that will be apparently was what's awakening King Namor. And even though it's Atlantis in comics, this was confirmed by the story in Empire that it's not going to be Atlantis in this movie. It's going to be Talokan. This is derived from the mythical Aztec realm and the domain of the Aztec storm god, which we see in the architecture throughout the trailer. Much like Namor, this god exists in the sky, in the land, and the sea. Not only does this kind of switch and align with the actor who's playing Namor, his own Tenoch Huerta's own indigenous Mexican ancestry, but it separates Marvel's Namor from DC's Aquaman. And people's like, well, the audience can understand. Like, there's two Atlantises. True, but I think because they want that separation. They want to do something different. They don't want to say, you're just copying Aquaman.
It's a good move. Brock says he loves the Mesoamerican cultural influence over Namor's kingdom. I think it makes a lot of sense because let's be real. Aquaman was a hugely popular movie.
$1 billion.
It did so good for DC. And it was a fun movie. I totally get it. They needed to do something to separate versus another underwater king from Atlantis. They needed to. And he can still be Namor. Like what the brashness, the arrogance of his character, you can still get that from this. Is he still going to say Imperious Rex? I don't know. I don't even know what he means when he says Imperious Rex. But I think this is a brilliant move to change it up, to mix it up. There's still going to be natural comparisons because you are talking about underwater kings and civilizations and stuff like that. And there's definitely going to be I like the way DC did the underwater scenes, or I like the way Marvel did the underwater scenes. They're not going to look 100% identical. There's going to be comparisons there. But you might as well mix it up when you can. And this absolutely gives another great case or great opportunity for representation, which is so vital and important.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, very much so. And plus, like they're not just throwing this together. Oh, they're making that. No, if you go to some of these ruins out there, there are freshwater and and seawater areas of why that meet together in some of these temple areas at that point. That's what he's diving into, these areas that actually do exist there. So they are not just making this up just to kind of not be like Atlantis and Aquaman. They're trying to base this in historical fact that exists today. So, and why kind of the way they film it at that point, they're trying to mimic what you could actually see down there as well. So the Talon-Oceans going in there. All right, we get the view that we've seen from the other trailer. These Wakandan ships going to Gorilla City. I say possibly, maybe they're going there after Wakanda is flooded to seek refuge from the Talon-Oceans because they may not be able to handle the cold, and the tidal wave may not be able to go that high.
Yeah, and at this point, the Jabari tribe are, for the most part, as far as we know, they are more allies. They're in better terms than they were.
I call it Gorilla City just because.
Sure, they were on better terms than what they were at the beginning of Black Panther 1.
Mm-hmm. Or here's another theory, because of later in the trailer where we see Namor possibly hitting Wakanda tech, could they have captured Namor?
Maybe they've captured him, or maybe they're just going to get help. Maybe they're preparing for an attack that's coming. Maybe they're preparing to attack. There's a lot of different plausible scenarios at this point, but ultimately, I think we're going to see M'Baku working with Shuri and the others.
Oh yeah, very much. And he says, as kind of closed captioning, M'Baku says, they do not call him general or king. They call him Kukuklan, which is the name of the feather serpent god. And he's saying killing Namor would risk eternal war.
Great line. Mm-hmm.
M'Baku's going to have a great part in this one. His stature is definitely growing in this.
We know it's not. I would not have been upset if he had gotten the Black Panther role. I know it'd been very different from the comics, but for the movies, it would have worked for me.
Yeah. So we see a outstanding shot of Namor again.
I love that they did the wings.
Oh yeah,
they did the wings.
They did the wings at that point. Again, Tenoch Huerta in his, I believe this is his first, introducing him is his first kind of American movie. And so he is comic accurate. The green swimsuit, the winged feet at that point those winged feet look pretty darn good for this trailer. I mean, they in theory, they look ridiculous. And I'm not saying they don't look ridiculous now, but this is that's part of his character.
I mean, they do look ridiculous, but they look ridiculous the way they're supposed to.
Yes.
Like, they look great.
Yeah. And just kind of reviewing a little bit of the comic background. And Namor's he was a character introduced in 1939 before Marvel Comics was founded, debuting in Motion Picture Funnies Weekly #1. Along the way, Namor fights against the Nazis, fights alongside Captain America, fights against the Fantastic Four. He's a member of the Illuminati. He's also a mutant, which that was also confirmed in the Empire article. He is another one that will be named a mutant. The Talon-Oceans have blue skin and have to wear masks when they're on land in order to breathe. Now, his mother in the movie, when they were seeing the birth, looks human. In the comics, she was Atlantean, and his father was human.
Yeah, even more like Aquaman.
Yes, even more. And in the comics, Namor was thought to be an outcast because of his skin color and his abilities. But in the MCU, it is quite the opposite. He is looked at as a god.
Yeah, and he's incredibly powerful.
Mm-hmm.
He can fly. He's got super strength. His arrogance, like there's not much he can't do, and he can be a really fun character. Like, when we were covering or reading Secret Wars for Comic Club, the interactions he had with T'Challa were awesome.
Yeah, the war in Wakanda and Atlantis is a big theme in the comics. Avengers versus X-Men, Namor goes to Wakanda to free a prisoner trapped there, and he floods the entire city with a tidal wave. T'Challa does not forget this and declared war on them. We do see, Namor basically attacking Wakanda in the same way.
Yep.
We see there's soldiers going into a Wakanda lab. This is this is Vibranium Lab and Dora Milaje are taking him down. We get another look at a newer character that we're being introduced to. See if I can. No, it's a little bit before that. Yeah, there we go. So this is a new character in the movie, Anika, which is played by Michaela Cole, who's posing as a scientist, but is a member of the Dora Milaje and is undercover. And I think this might be in Chicago, which is one of the Wakandan outreach facilities, because we have another character that hails from Chicago.
And to reference the earlier comment, in the comics, she becomes one of the Midnight Angels.
Exactly. She separates herself from the Dora Milaje. Then we get Shuri, and we love this shot. This is Queen Ramonda. This is Riri Williams, and we see Namor in amongst the glass, getting ready to attack. So the Talon Ocean's going out. I love this Queen Ramonda and Namor confronting each other. I love that. Just a great shot. So we see Queen Ramonda, her saying as we get to you, we hear what you whisper. They, meaning Wakanda, have lost their protector.
Mm-hmm.
And Wakanda getting flooded, and now is our time to strike, she says. Look at how he moves.
Yes, yes.
We're rebuilding now. We get some more shots of Riri Williams. Now she is using a lot more car parts to build, the armor in this one. In the comics, she hails from Chicago, and her character debuted in Invincible Iron Man Volume 3, Number 7. She's a genius gained in early admission at MIT through Wakanda. It might have been a program part of the UN dealings. Her best friend and her stepfather were killed in a drive-by shooting in Chicago. Now, in the comics, she builds her armor from old Iron Man parts and stolen parts for MIT, leading to security confronting her, and she escapes in her Mark I suit, which I think we're going to see a couple of versions of her suit.
I think we will, too.
In this one. And the movie seems to be changing that up a bit. And she has an arc reactor in a shape of a diamond, which is the one that Tony used. So the question is, where did she get that from?
Yeah, good question. I'm willing to wait to find out the answers to some of that, but it's exciting to know that we're going to meet her here, and they're already doing the Ironheart show.
Yeah, and I love this kind of, the sequence, very similar to how, Tony flies off in Infinity War.
Mm-hmm.
All right, let me pause on this character right here. All right, this guy is Atuma.
Yeah.
Yep, Atuma. In the comics, he is actually one of Namor's greatest enemies. I think in this movie, he's going to be a slight antagonist that's going to be kind of maybe prodding Namor to go to war with Wakanda.
Yeah, like it's very easy to imagine him as like manipulating Namor to push them into conflict. Like you could almost see them teaming up together to fight him at the end of the movie.
Yep. We don't see much of Nakia in this trailer. We saw a little bit more of her in the first one. But she's in a blue armor, so could she be also forming the what was
the Midnight Angels?
Midnight Angels, yeah.
Yeah, plausible. A little different than what happens with her in the comics, as I understand it, but it would fit the movies.
Yeah, Riri going out, Baku, and then let me go here. Like we get the throne room in flames. Now, could this be Shuri's spirit walk?
Yeah, and I'm wondering, like, presumably, if she gets heart-shaped herb, assuming it's her, how? Because, they destroyed it all in the first movie, as far as we know.
Yep.
Oh, we found some more on the other side of the mountain.
Yep.
Great.
And then we get the hero shot, our first look at our new Black Panther. So.
Suit looks great.
It looks great. It is a female. It is very obviously a female in this suit. A lot of people, including us, based on the helmet, it's very much similar markings that Shuri used in the first Black Panther movie. Mm-hmm. But they have been going back and forth. A lot of people saying, you can think that, but it may not just be one person that is going to be in the armor at sometimes.
Yeah, maybe they're going to try and just turn the concept into more of a symbol.
Yeah. So, but yep. So, great. Final show for Brent and I at that point, and we both have our tickets. Brent has 2 tickets. I have 1.
And I have plans for a third because my dad can't go with me at that opening weekend. So I just had to, twist my arm and promise him I'd go see it with him another weekend. So
Yep. Anything we got to catch up in the chat with that we missed?
Overall, I think we're pretty much caught up. David agrees with me. It's, time to boycott the trailers. Brock agrees about Namor's amazing foot wings.
Yep, and this is now officially the second longest movie in the MCU, clocking in at 2 hours and 40 minutes. Endgame still holds the record for the longest. And I think for both you and I, a slight sigh of relief after the last 2 movies were basically 2 hours.
Yeah, I enjoyed both of those movies a lot, but you could tell there was room for more. I'm glad they're giving that room for more here. And yes, David in the chat, I see you. I know you're seeing it the movie before I am by a couple hours. You always do.
When is he seeing it?
He will leave work early to go see it at like 3:00. I will not leave work early, and I will see it at 5:30.
I will be seeing it at 3:00 on Thursday. That would be the earliest because I can get home, still see my kids, and not have to be risking falling asleep. But here's the thing, Brent. The next day is Veterans Day.
I've already taken the next day off work. I actually already had the next day off work.
I have the next day off. Yeah, I have the next day off. Yeah,
I'll be seeing it that day too.
But yep. So we'll see as we march towards it, and it is a little over a month, a month and a couple of days. So, but all right, we're gonna take our final ad break before wrapping up our last news item and getting into listener feedback. So again, listeners, these ads help keep the lights on the Geek Ultimate Alliance Network. We don't get to choose what ads come on. They can be a bit loud. So give it that 3 count before they come on. 3, 2, 1. We'll be right back. All right, so we had one final news story that kind of broke late. We've got some answers on Secret Wars, and this is coming from Deadline as an exclusive. Michael Waldron has been tapped to write Secret Wars, Avengers Secret Wars. So why does that name sound familiar, Brent?
Oh, probably because he wrote Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. He was also on the writing staff for Loki.
Yes, so he is a man that has been very much in the multiverse. He is also one of the many main writers of Rick and Morty, so a show that delves very much also in the multiverse. So
it's kind of his thing. It kind of makes sense.
It is. It is his thing. The fact that we now have a writer on it. How soon are we from a named director now?
I gotta think it's coming, right?
If he's writing it, the director's got to have at least some kind of say in kind of how this is going down.
I would certainly think so. I'm sure they know who the director is already.
Yeah, insiders that spoke to Deadline say meetings for the job took place in the last month, and while a number of writers met, many believe Waldron was the frontrunner given how much trust the studio has in him. Waldron has been on a roll with studio for the past year, starting with last year's Loki. Waldron served as executive producer and showrunner for the series and was also popular became one of the series to receive a second season renewal. On the film side, as he said, Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness led that. And the film bowed and grossed to $950 million worldwide at the box office. And he's developing and writing Feige's secret Star Wars film that he's still writing. Some apparently were not happy with this, Brent, with this decision.
Yeah, and I'll be honest, I don't know that he would have been my first choice. I loved Loki. I think it's the strongest of the Disney Plus shows so far. Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, I really enjoyed it. I think I enjoyed it more than a lot of people. But not without its flaws. Like, I definitely see some of the problems, and I feel like I understand Wanda's story arc. A lot of people felt like they needed to see it more than they did, and I think that really left a bad taste in a lot of people's mouths.
Yeah, and I think, what we've seen with Marvel recently, especially as we get towards like who's writing and directing these things, they're going to people that they've worked with before. Like they're like with these bigger names, like with this one, with where they've gone with Kang Dynasty and in Fantastic Four. you know? So, I mean, they're for these bigger projects, they're not taking a risk with someone new or someone they haven't worked with before. All in the game saying, would have preferred a writer director or an established writing and directing team. All in the game, who would you prefer? I'm curious at that point. Would love to hear who are you kind of hoping for at that point?
I know a lot of people were hoping for Marcus and McFeely to come back. And don't get me wrong, obviously, like they do my favorite works for the MCU, so I would have been fine with that. But it is worth noting that they were heavily invested in the Infinity Saga, and they were writing the culmination of it. Waldron is heavily invested. Like he's
done the homework.
Going to know more about it. He has Feige's trust, which frankly is good enough for me. He's super invested in it though at this point. So I do think he's ultimately a good choice.
And I know people are saying, well, Multiverse of Madness wasn't exactly what we thought about or what we wanted, and this, that, and the other. It's like, okay, but we also, it doesn't mean that everything from his script made it to the screen either. Or if it did, it may have been cut for different things. So we may have not seen exactly what he originally put on paper too.
Right. And the thing with Multiverse of Madness, a lot of people got it in their heads that it was going to be this massive, massive cameo fest. That we were just going to see every single character ever. And I certainly thought it was plausible that we would see Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man, but that wasn't anything they ever told us. Like that was all fan expectations. And so I do think that's a little unfair.
Yeah. So, but I'm happy with it. It just makes me wonder who we're getting as director because, is Coogler interested in doing this big of a project? It's like he would be in the sense of like who's left of the top tier directors that Marvel has worked with necessarily that just like they love working with. I would love to see Coogler get the nod to close out this phase, the Multiverse saga.
I think Coogler is a great choice. He's a name I've heard many others say, and it's from the current crop of directors. Probably, I would agree as like as least as far as the fans are concerned, the front runner. Whether or not that's who Feige has in mind, I don't know, or whether or not Coogler even would have the interest, I don't know. But I would certainly love to see what he would do with the larger MCU outside of just the world of Wakanda.
Do you think we get a director name before the end of the year?
I think it will come out before then in the trains.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily think it'll be official before then.
Yeah, it was rather interesting that they officially named, though, King Dynasty's team.
Yeah, some of that stuff is like, I don't know why. I still want to know about Shang-Chi, too. Is Cretton going to be the director of it? I don't know. And if he is, when's it going to come out? Is there even time for it to come out before King Dynasty? I don't know.
Yeah, we'll have to see. But yeah, that was all the news this week. We got a big trailer, got this update on Avengers Secret Wars. So let us head to feedback. So I know we got a lot of She-Hulk feedback. Any extra feedback that we had from listeners?
Yeah, we had one non-She-Hulk question, so I didn't put it with the others from Omari Daniels. Since Magneto was so prominent in the X-Men films, how long do you think Marvel Studios should wait to use him, or should they use him at all?
No, I'll say like they should use him. I mean, it's one of those like the villain that everyone, the antagonist that we all need. Professor X, Magneto, Eric Lensher. I think that they should use him at all. How long do we think Marvel Studios is going to wait to use him? Not long. I easily see that people say, oh well, they did it in the first one, the Fox one. I think it's a very easy one to do in the first one. I can see them easily doing that in the first movie.
That second part of the question, should they use him at all? Excuse me, would you have Thor without Loki? Like Superman without Lex Luthor? Like, yes, you gotta use him at some point. How long though? Honestly, I would say no more than 3 movies at the absolute most, but probably in movie 1 or 2. I could absolutely see them doing movie 2 and not focusing on Magneto for the first movie just because, like Omari says, he was so prominent. The character was so prominent in the X-Men films. Maybe, give him one of their other, have him fight like the Friends of Humanity or fight Mr. Sinister or something like that. But at some point, you got to do Magneto. You have to.
Mm-hmm. It's just part of it's again. There's a reason he has existed for as long as he has in X-Men canon. So, but all right. So thank you for the question, Amari, and for all you that got the She-Hulk questions. Really appreciate that at that point. So, fact or fictions. So let me pull those up from last week. Number one, these are all from Mr. Hines, so we're going to get Brent's opinion on it. Number one, we will see at least 2 other characters from the Fox X-Men universe in Deadpool 3. 84% said fact, 16% said fiction.
I'll say fact. I think most likely it's Deadpool-related characters. Colossus, Negasonic Teenage Warhead, something like that.
Number 2, Hugh Jackman's Wolverine will make at least one more appearance after Deadpool 3. We have a 50-50 tie.
Fact. I'll break the tie. Fact.
There we go.
I mean, at this point, I feel like if they brought him back, again, fan expectations, but just looking at what this comic event was, Secret Wars seems like a very likely place for those quick cameos that people thought was going to be in Multiverse of Madness.
And number 3, Val, don't call her that. Don't even think it. Will recruit Abomination by the end of She-Hulk Season 1.
Yeah,
60% said fact, 40% said fiction.
I've been thinking along those same lines. I've even had something similar in my fact or fictions. Yeah, I'm going to say fact. That, to me, also screams credit scene potential.
Yeah, very much so. So, all right. So, my turn this week as I pull mine up. All right. Emilia Clarke's character in Secret Invasion will switch sides at some point from being on the evil Skrull side to being a hero and joining the Resistance.
Fact. I like it. And something like that, you want to see some good materials going on.
Yep, a fact as well. Got to get some Daredevil question in here, so I got a small one. We will see Daredevil don the yellow and red suit one more time in Born Again.
Only one more time or at least one more time?
I'll go with at least one more time.
Fact.
So, yep, I'm a fact as well. I don't think that we've seen the last of this mustard and ketchup suit.
No.
And finally, this one I'm going kind of crazy. I'm going Cool Ranch on this one. Let's go a little nuts on this one. Eric Bana will return
Fiction.
as Hulk by Secret Wars.
By Secret Wars?
Or like this could be it. We'll return at some point,
during the multiverse saga.
During the multiverse saga. But he'll be portraying Maestro.
Oh, I do like that idea.
I know.
I'm still gonna say fiction. I don't think it'll happen, but I like the idea. That's fun. That's a fun one.
Like I said, like it's Secret Wars. I could just see him just for that cameo, or even in Kang Dynasty, just like cameo and seeing what happened with. God, I'm saying fact just because it's so crazy. I'm freaking Michael Keaton. You want to get nuts? Let's get nuts. I'm a fact.
I think it'd be better if it was Edward Norton though.
Okay.
Mainly because the Maestro is supposed to be the same Hulk from the future or whatever, right? Like,
yeah.
Like Edward Norton was the same Hulk. Like,
True.
I was like, oh, I like the idea, but
he literally turned into a different guy.
Who knows what the relationship like is, if there even is one, is like there? But it's a fun idea regardless. So I don't think it'll happen, but I like it. So.
Yeah. So I was just seeing that Maestro, and I was like, oh, how can we get crazy with this one? Eric Bana, let's bring him back.
That is. I mean, I thought you were going to say David Hasselhoff as Nick Fury or something.
The Avengers. No, he's going with the Avengers.
Yeah.
All right. So as always, I will post those Sunday afternoon. Let your voices be heard. All right. Now we bring Comic Club back. It took a break last week because we're not going to go reading this without Brent. We got, we can't do that to him. Such great, uncanny X-Men. Number 95. We left off on a cliffhanger. The X-Men falling to their death. Is all of them going to die? What did you think about this one? Like, it said, like, an X-Men will die.
It did. And I was like, oh, this must be when that particular X-Men dies, because I know it's early. So this opening falling sequence, like, it was a fun sequence I liked, but I wish they had, like, they're putting up, like, like, there's a minute remaining or 60 seconds to impact or whatever it was. And I wish they had just gone with a little more time, like started up higher in the sky or something. Because it's like he has a full blown conversation with Nightcrawler, basically about the law of conservation of energy and how if he teleports, he will reappear going at the same. So I'm like,
totally plausible. That conversation can totally happen.
Everything about it makes sense had they been on the ground talking about hypotheticals. Falling at the time, I'm like, are you kidding me? And then there is actually a little bit of a mix-up where at one point it says like 50 seconds remaining, and then later it says 63 seconds remaining. And it might have just been like
editors.
Like a bad print job or something. But regardless, it was a fun sequence, and I really enjoyed how Colossus was like, I'm good. Don't worry about me. I'll find my own way down. Well, Boom. He did find his own way down. He just fell.
I just love it. Like, this whole thing, Stan always said, like, you got to treat every issue like it's the first person's comic. Well, that second or third page, we're basically rehashing the entire last issue at that point. It always makes me laugh at that point. But yeah, you're right. Like, Colossus falling down. I like it basically. Of course, we're going to like save Scott at the very last minute just to like make people think, oh, we're going to lose our leader. Nope. But I love it that Banshee, I enjoy Banshee being on this team. He's our kind of mix of Bobby and Hank together,
Yeah, I could see that.
But Thunderbird just still, being the kind of person who's gonna question everything,
Yeah, Thunderbird, he just seems like he doesn't want to be there.
He seems like Sunfire,
Yeah, but Sunfire left. So I'm like, why are you here? You seem like you don't like the others, like Storm, Nightcrawler, like they seem like they want to be here.
Yeah,
but I guess you may not have to worry about it much longer.
No, and hey, we have a Frogman like appearance.
I saw that and was like, is this supposed to be Frogman? Like, is he a mutant? Like, oh, nope, this is one of like the Annie-Men, or I think.
Yeah, the infamous Annie-Men at that point, as we see them kind of, it's just interesting seeing the combinations of what this guy Nefarious did in combining these humans and animal hybrids, and basically, I think the only reason they're taking the X-Men to task is because they really haven't been a team together and they don't know how to be a team.
Absolutely, and it does reference in one of the shots that the Annie-Men are like, they're willing to be more ruthless. I love that this Frogman stand-in, hashtag not my Leapfrog, that he...
Home Depot Leapfrog?
He's basically facing off with Nightcrawler, arguing Nightcrawler's the monster and he's a man. And I'm like, dude, you're a frog. Like, it's kind of funny to see that's who was having that discussion.
Exactly. It's just like, he's probably more kind than you will ever be at that point. But, the X-Men... are able to take them down eventually at that point, but it's come to this, like, it's, 007 moment, like, the self-destruct sequence has been initiated, and they've got to stop it in time.
Yeah, and of course, during the fight, like, Thunderbird and Banshee got knocked out. They wake up a little bit later because the X-Men just leave them. Oh, we don't have time to worry about them. Just screw them. They're on their own. And,
leave men behind.
They just, goodness. And
they aren't the Marines.
They aren't the Marines. That's right. They'll leave you behind. And, of course, when they wake up, they go after the bomb. Thunderbird especially goes after the bomb. But, like, Banshee's yelling at Thunderbird, like, just let go, man. I'll blow it up. I got my powers right here. But... No, but
even Xavier's telling them, get off the plane. It's gonna blow up. It's gonna explode. And boom.
Did you think it was a little convenient when Xavier's just like, no, it's all good. I got this handled. Go after the X-Man who's in mortal danger.
Yeah, just totally. Oh, thanks, Prof. Let's.
Like, why did you even send them there if you were just gonna do it remotely?
I know, really. You could, in all honesty, it wasn't Nefarious killing him. It's Professor Xavier again.
Yeah,
he's such a jerk.
Certainly seems like it. And I know he's like, "Oh, your battle destroyed the things or whatever." It's like, well, you could have said something earlier if that's all the case was.
I will tell you what, that last page of just the destruction and just the agony on Xavier's face that, he holds himself responsible for it. And you see Banshee just like, I pleaded with him, but he wouldn't get off the plane. And he says, I know, Banshee, it wasn't your fault. I suppose it had to happen sometime. Hell, sooner or later, it happens to us all in this business when it comes to this uniform. God, Scott, you're all heart.
That's exactly what I thought. It's like Xavier cared, right? Like,
Oh yeah, I mean you literally like,
and Cyclops is like, well, it happens to everybody.
It's like, well, all right, big gulp, well, see you later, and like you literally see like Xavier going Thunderbird, no, pulling his best Darth Vader impression at that point, and yeah, like Scott's like, I'm sorry, I'm sorry, Brock, Scott was wrong.
Oh.
Cyclops was wrong.
I cannot. I cannot say that. But
in this case, he has no heart and he's a jerk.
He was definitely a jerk. I'll go with you there.
Maybe it's because you know what? Probably Brock will make the excuse. Jean just left him. He really has no heart now.
I like Scott the best when he's a jerk, though, so that's all right.
Okay. But all right, well, we got issue 96 coming up next week, so we'll dive into that. All right, so we had an extra-packed episode, as always, not done yet, but so remember, everyone, he will have another episode. You will have the very first Marvel Alliance special presentation of our Werewolf by Night review coming to you Sunday morning, so I hope you all enjoy that. It comes out, if you're listening to this, the question is, what do you choose, Werewolf by Night or this show? I won't fault you for choosing Werewolf by Night first before you listen to this show.
You choose Werewolf by Night first, and then you come to the show. I'm going to go ahead and put that out there.
Brent and I will definitely be doing that.
Yeah, I'll be watching it in like 6 hours.
Yes, exactly. So, but all right, Brent, tell people how they can follow you.
Brent Tech Prime, Twitter, TikTok. That's where I'm at.
Yep. And again, as always, want to thank our official sponsor, OrganicPriceBooks.com. Again, use that code MarvelGUA at checkout for $2 off every single order. Thank you for being a sponsor. You can find me on Twitter at Chris Balga. You can follow this podcast on Twitter at Marvel A Podcast. You can follow the Geek Ultimate Alliance Network at GUA Pod Network. You can email this show. Email those questions, those fact or fiction ideas. Brent is watching. That just sounds creepy, but we'll go with it.
It really does.
It sounds weird, but I'll allow it. So email the show at marvelalliancepodcast@gmail.com. You feel free to tweet, email if you want to provide feedback, fact or fictions, anything you want. DMs are open on all our accounts. Continue to rate and review the Marvel Alliance solo feed, GUA feed on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, any of those podcatchers. We appreciate that support. Thank you all for listening. Thank you all for joining us live in the chat. We had a good crowd out there tonight. Thank you all for listening. Stay safe out there, everyone. And as Stan the Man would say, Excelsior, true believers. All right, Brent. This is kind of going to give you another opportunity to talk about something you did not get some thoughts on from last week's stuff. What do you feel about, as we pull up kind of the news story of the director of Blade walking away?
I mean, so it always stinks when that kind of thing happens.
Mm-hmm.
But do it now, before production starts. Don't do it
literally 2 months before.
Sure, but don't do it 2/3 of the way into production. Don't pull a Rogue One, which granted it worked out for that movie. Don't pull a Solo, which it did not work out nearly as well for that movie. Don't do that. Like, leave early, leave before if it's not going to work out. So, well, no, you hate to see it because you don't. I mean, nobody wants to see Blade get delayed right now. It's still, if it wasn't going to work out, fine. I'm glad they decided it now when they did.
Yeah. So for our post-credits discussion, we did get a kind of a news item being hinted at like kind of like after the show dropped. At that point, it became more and more what ended up being rumors. Again, this is not officially confirmed, but it looks like the head writer of X-Men 97 is going to rewrite Blade from scratch. The start date, as Hines and I, as we all probably saw when the director leaves, and it was supposed to start in November production, it has been shifted to 2023. No official kind of window for that, just 2023. So coming from Murphy's Multiverse, he said, just yesterday, Illuminati was sharing some insight of what might be the initial plot details of the original script, hinted at we'd explore the 1920s going all the way through the 1980s. Yet it seems that the current developments have changed, and they've heard that Moon Knight writer and X-Men 97 head writer Boo DeMaio will be attached to give it a rewrite from scratch. This is big. The Direct reveals that according to their sources, he is currently set to overhaul the entire movie. In response to the insider, again, Jeff Snyder, he's right sometimes, he's wrong sometimes. He's got some haters and things like that, but again, you can't argue with sometimes where his connections are. He reported that start date's been pushed to November. Lizzie Hall posted her January 2023. It will start, and Big Screen Leak said, "I'm hearing Blade start date was pushed back at least the start of 2023. They're searching for a director and hope to get a project off the ground again soon." So, writer of Moon Knight, X-Men 97. We haven't seen that. That says a lot that they're not even willing to move forward with what was already written.
To me, it's kind of like what you mentioned with Secret Wars. Like, you would expect the director to have some involvement, and it sounds like they didn't like the script they had before. What was the rumor? Like, only 2 action scenes? Like, that's really not enough.
According to, I think there was Snyder. I think Snyder was saying that, according to him, what he was told, lackluster. So again, we take that with a grain of salt because that's whoever's telling him that. So I again, that's one of those like, sure, I can make that up too.
I just like it just makes sense to me. Like, if you're getting a new director at this point and you're pushing back production, well, you might as well, go over the script again, right? Like, they're not doing what they did with Ant-Man when Edgar Wright left, but they kept primarily the same stuff, and then they just rolled on into production really quickly. It's okay. Like, I don't want Blade to be delayed, but I mean, it doesn't have a release date yet anyway, so it's not delayed if they haven't announced a date. And as I've said with the Fantastic Four or the X-Men or this project or that project, there are so many other MCU projects between now and then. I can be patient for any one. Like, any individual one I have no problem being patient. Like, it's probably going to take that mythical Daredevil Spider-Man team up for me to get to the point where it's like, I am losing patience now. I can't, like, I don't want to go through 10 other projects first. So it's fine. It's no big deal to me.
And again, I'm fine waiting, and I get if someone picked up that Marshall Ali is frustrated with it. I said it last week. I get that he's frustrated. It's okay that I hear him. I'm not worried that he's frustrated. I would be frustrated at this losing a director last minute, 2 months before production was supposedly going to start, and now having to find another director and now a script being rewritten. Yeah, I'm okay with him being frustrated. That's okay. I want it done right, and he wants it done right. I don't see him leaving. This movie is going to happen. They're committed to this, and I think, again, as we start getting towards Werewolf by Night and seeing what the MCU's Monsterverse is, Blade is a big part of that. He is an immensely important part of that. So it is unfortunate. As we said, the script must have been, a key part of this thing. Let's start from scratch at this point. So hopefully we'll hear a director soon. I think it's very lofty that if it's true, a whole rewrite, and they're possibly going to start production January 23. Nope, sorry, I don't believe that now. I believe that it's going to be sometime in 2023, but it will not be that early.
Yeah, no, that sounds too early if they're doing a rewrite. Unless this is one of those times when the trades and everyone, like the news, the bloggers, the scoopers, got the right news, but they got it way behind schedule. Unless it was one of those kinds.
On purpose. Yeah. So, but all right. Well, that's our post credit for this week. We got our final episode of She-Hulk next week. So again, we will see you Sunday morning, ladies and gentlemen, for Werewolf by Night in the morning. See you later.